Hey there, Chris from the Old Man Cycling Show with the first race of my season. This is the Philadelphia Riverfront Criterium Masters 55 Plus race presented by Fellow John. This was, like I said, the first race of my season as well as the first race on my new bike. More on that in a little bit, but I have to say I really like my bike and thank you to my friends at Cycles by Kyle in Bryn Mawr, PA for setting me up with the beautiful bike that I am riding this race. So this first lap is a neutral lap. I'm not crazy about neutral laps. I can see the purpose of it. I mean, there were people that didn't ride this course yet. If you're not used to the course, I can see, you'd want to take a lap around it. The course itself was an interesting course. It was, I would say, it was challenging from the point of view that there were some turns that if you were with people, you had to brake and sprint out of, that sort of thing. But overall, it was a good course. The backstretch did have a predominant headwind most of the time, but more on that in a little bit. But this is the neutral lap. We're coming up right here to the one tight turn. It's probably about I'm going to say it's probably about a 60 to 70 degree turn. It really comes back around on itself, but it was plenty wide. You can see you can go out to those cones. So you had a good wide stretch to get through that turn. So as I said, this is a neutral lap. We'll walk through the course. This is the backstretch. So this was predominantly into a little bit of a headwind. And it was a little cool this day. I think when we started the race, it might have been, actually I have the temperature right on the screen. It was 46 degrees, and I'm not a very good cold weather person. I did not have leg warmers on, mainly because I couldn't find them when I was getting ready to leave for the race, but I wish I would have had them. My upper body, I had arm warmers on, and I did have long finger gloves on. My arms were comfortable, but I probably would have been a little bit warmer if I had leg warmers on, but so it is. So here we come. We're coming up to the start-finish line. So I'll take this lap to basically walk you through the course. So here's the start-finish. The road conditions weren't bad. You could just see we went over some brick sidewalks. There were some manhole covers on the course, some seams in the asphalt and things. So it was a little bumpy, a little rough, but nothing. There weren't like potholes or anything like that. It was just a rough course. But nothing horrible in any of the turns. There were manhole covers, but manageable. This turn, this is the second left-hand turn. Sorry, missed the first left-hand turn. So this is sort of coming back. There will be like a little bend to the left, and then we'll have the only right-hand turn on the course. Again, this right-hand turn, the only really tricky thing about it was there was some brick walkway in the middle of it. We were dry for our race, so there's the brick, and you come across into the lane. Some of the later races, there was some rain. We did a little bit of mist at the end of our race, but nothing really bad. And here comes the left-hand turn. It really is a little bit of a sharp turn, 60 degrees, but again, it's nice and wide. You can really spread out. So we're going here, and I did have a strategy for this race. My strategy for the race was basically to stay near the front, because the thought process was, knowing the course is a shorter course with a bunch of turns. The course itself was 0.7 miles. So knowing it was a shorter course with a bunch of turns, I wanted to be near the front, thinking that there's going to be a break going probably within, my guess was the first 10 laps. Our race was 35 laps, but I figured, within the first 10 laps, because this is the kind of course a break can get away on. So right now, I'm back a little bit more than I want to be, but we're only on the first lap of the race. Now we're coming up onto the second lap of the race. So we're back to the start finish, and we'll do the turns again. So here's the first lap. So it was 4 lefts and a right. So that's turn number 1. That's a left-hand turn. This was a good fast stretch from the start finish line to here and through this next turn was a really good fast part of the course. You can see I'm pretty far back at the moment, but we're in the second lap of the race. But I do have a strategy. You'll see me start to put my plan into action. I'm not going to tell you how it worked out. You'll find out soon enough. But I really was thinking in my mind that because of the length of this course, here it comes back to the first right-hand turn, the brick crosswalk. When you think about this course, it is one where you can get away because of the turns, and you can make some space, and you sort of get out of sight. So again, this was the really acute turn, probably like I said, 60 to 70 degrees. You had to come back around yourself, but it was plenty wide so you could drift out. So now you can see, like, if you see up in the distance, there are some people starting to, I'd say, liven things up. Nobody's put in a serious dig yet, but I'm starting to think to myself, okay, at some point, I want to be closer to the front. I want to see what's going on. I want to be able to react, because, like I said, my plan was if a break goes, I want to go with it. So now we're just crossing the start-finish line for this second lap of the race. It's the third lap because we did have the neutral lap, but the second lap of the race, and the race is on. So let me tell you a little bit about my bike while we're watching what's going on here. So I did get a new Pinarello Dogma. It's a Dogma F. It's a 2024 frame, because that's the last year that they're offering that frame with rim brakes. And yes, I did get a new frame with rim brakes because I am a old-fashioned type of guy. I really like my rim brakes. I don't know. Even on my gravel bike, I do have disc brakes, and they're just a pain. They're almost impossible to get to be quiet, or not click or drag or do something. But anyway, okay. So now you can see that guy in the blue. He's moving up. So I'm like, okay, now some people are starting to move around, and I'm a little bit further back than I want to be. We're moving at a pretty good pace. The line's pretty strung out. Still see the pace car up there, but I'm thinking in my head, I want to be closer to the front. It's still pretty early. I thought the break would go, within the first 10 laps, but you can see, like, people are starting to liven it up at the front of this line. If you just saw at the head up there, there's some people that are starting to push a little bit. Again, this backstretch was in a headwind. There was no elevation whatsoever on this course. I think for the whole ride, I might have had 8 feet of elevation gain, something like that, like something really, really low. It was a very flat course. It did have turns. The turns were all manageable. The only really tough part was that backstretch. It had a good little breeze on it that you would notice. You didn't notice. This was where you really wanted to be in the draft. But you can see, like, I'm still back a little bit further than I wanted to be, and I'm trying to make some inroads to move up a little bit. It was a hard course because I didn't want to come into the inside on any of these left-handed turns. You can see right there, like, if I would have been on the inside of that turn, I wouldn't have had any room. Because people were cutting the apexes, which, that's what you should do. That's the best line through the turn. So the only real opportunity, and that's another thing with these short courses, it's hard to pass. The best place to pass was really on the backstretch, but then again, you're passing into a headwind. But like in these shorter stretches where you're going to line up for the turns, especially this turn coming up here, you see I'm not in a great position. I've got a person to the right of me, and I've got to try to really hold my line into this turn. Joe, who's in the Stars and Stripes kit, he went a little wide, which was actually good for me because I was in a bad spot. I shouldn't have been where I was, but fortunately everything worked out. So now you can see, like, people are starting to move up. You saw the 2 active yards guys. Now you can see at this point it's getting livelier, right? There's some action going on at the front. 2 of the active yards guys just went up the road a little bit. We're getting a little bit strung out here, but there's still no one that's off of the group yet. So it's still okay. I'm just a little bit further back than I wanted to be. A lot of the corners, if you watch, I'll be sprinting out of the corners and then, and then trying to get back in. So it was very surgy. It was very surgy in a lot of spots. So as far as my power, the power that you see on the bottom left side, that's my current power. The power that you see on the right side underneath the course map, that's my 30-second average. So you'll see a lot of times, like, I coast through a lot of the turns, but then right after a turn's over, like that one, I hit 700 watts and then back it down a little bit. So now here's where there's things moving at the front, and I decide, okay, right here, I've got to make a move. So I try to get past a couple people and get up to what I consider like the lead group on the road. So I got most of the way there. I didn't get all the way there, but I got most of the way there. So now I'm a little bit happier with my position, but I'm still not far enough where I want to be, because I want to be able to react when a break goes. Because like I said, my strategy was to go with a break, or try to, and that's what I think is going to be the winning move. I don't think it's going to take much for, as I was going around this course, I was saying to myself, it's not going to take much for, people to get away if they got a good group of people to work together and make some space. So again, it's getting a little bit lively, coming down the back stretch, making the turn into the start finish line. Still, the group's all together, but it's single file type thing. So we're riding pretty good. Coming across the start finish line, and I forget exactly how big this field was. It was the 55 and 65 plus race, so it was a good field. It wasn't giant. It wasn't like any of the Cat 4 race or the Cat 5 race or things like that. But there were probably, I'm going to say, in the order of 25 to 30 people. But you see the pace car still up there. We're still in a group. But now I think it's this lap. I don't want to spoil anything, but I think it's this lap that things start to really get lively. Just give a second here and see what happens. Yeah, so there's one guy, took a little dig right there. He didn't stay out there. This was one to be hard. It'd be hard to do it by yourself, but I think, to me at this point, I'm in pretty good shape, right? If somebody decides to go, I think I'm in pretty good shape. But sometimes the best made plans don't always work out, but we'll see what happens. So now you can see, if you just saw on the right side of the screen, like there's 3 guys at the front and a little gap to the next guy in the line. So at this point, I'm sort of thinking, okay, that's the start of the break, and I didn't react right away. I knew in my head that, hey, that was the time to go, but I didn't react. So now I start to react. And I waited a little bit too long, and you'll see, I'm putting in a decent effort here to try to get up to these guys. And I'm chasing, but I let too much space open up, and it really was, like I said, I saw that happening, and I knew I should have gone right away, but I didn't. It was my plan to, and I think if I would have gone right away, I think I could have at least tried to hang with these guys and work with them, because you're going to see, like, I'm not closing down. I'm by myself. So if I were to look behind me right now, nobody came with me when I went by myself. So now I'm into the hardest part of the course, which is into a headwind by myself, chasing 3 guys that are working pretty well together, and they're moving, and I'm not closing down. So eventually you're going to see that I just decide, I'm not going to get there. In retrospect, it's always good to be like the armchair watcher after a race. In retrospect, I should have just tried to keep on the gas a little bit here until we got out of the wind, and then try to make up for it, once we cross the start finish line and get back to the fast part of the course. But I have to say, early in the season, my endurance and strength wasn't quite ready to put up with that. So, but then I heard another group come by, so I could actually hear these guys coming up with me. And I tried to make a jump to get on their wheels, I started too late again, because actually one of these guys of those three made it up to the group of three ahead, and there were actually four guys that broke away from the main pack, and they pretty much stayed away until you'll see what happens a little bit deeper in the race. So again, I'm here working, trying to get up to these guys. I'm giving it a good effort, but again, I'm not making progress. So, at this point, I sort of figured, okay, well, let's just see if the group comes back together and we do anything to try to get back to at least chasing down the three leaders. And like I said, one of those guys, I think it was the guy in blue, eventually did make it up to the lead group. You can see I'm still still working to try to get up to these guys, and I'm thinking in my head, yeah, I'm not getting any closer. So hopefully, either somebody comes to help or these guys slow down and we ride together. But that was a good break. And like I said, I really had the plans to go with it. Just, I don't know, for whatever reason, wasn't paying attention or didn't react quick enough or didn't do something. But now, so now the main group is finally coming up and, trying to go through. So now, we'll get a little cooperation, try to work together, get back to these two guys that are ahead. So the third guy that was with the two active yards guys, I think he was pressing on. He was the one, I think, that eventually ended up getting up to the four leaders. You could see them just past that corner, just ahead of the active yards guy. So they're still not completely out of sight, but now you can see that the gas is being let off a little bit. So and this is another thing, maybe it's just me, but there were a lot of instances where, like you could see the guy in blue ahead of me flicked his elbow. I have no issue coming through. Like I'll ride and work, but there will be times where and the way you'll tell is you'll see I'll just move across the road. Like I would flick my elbow and and move and hope somebody was going to come through, and nobody did. And then I'm just sort of sitting out there like waiting. So that's a hard thing to do when you're a team of one, right? So it's not really, it's not really the best thing. So, again, coming down the backstretch, somebody did come through, but you can see there's nobody behind this guy. So this guy comes through, there's nobody with him, and he flicks his elbow right away. And now I'm back on the front again. So that was a little bit frustrating. I'm not quite sure what to do there. Do I just sort of, go past but move over right away and wait for somebody and just let everything slow down? But at the same point in time, I'm thinking there's still a chance, a very slim chance, because now you don't even see the pace car on the straightaway. So, it just, like that, you can see the active yards guy had his hand up. I was under the same type of feeling, almost like, come on guys, let's work together. And I think he even said, somebody said at one point, come on guys, let's work. And it just wasn't cohesive. Other races, it's been very cooperative, especially when you're chasing down a break. Guys are working together. But this race, I don't know if it was because there were turns or what the thing was, but it just didn't seem to have that same cohesive feel that I felt in other races. But hey, that's okay. That's racing, right? Everybody has their own strategy, their own plan in place. What they want to do. So I can't fault anybody. It's just I wanted to try to keep things lively. Wanted to try to keep us moving forward. But at one of these laps, and I'm going to give a little bit of a spoiler alert here, because it's going to be coming up in a few minutes. Like you can see that lead car and the lead group is nowhere in sight. Like they're gone. So even we make this turn and come around to the start finish line, and again, here's another spot where I pull all the way over to the left. You know, it's the same like 3 or 4 people that were pulling on the front, and yeah, I don't know. Enough said about that. But anyway, you know, at this point, we're not making progress closing the break. So we're sort of, in my opinion, racing for 5th place because there's 4 guys up the road. We're not making any progress on them. I have a buddy, I think you'll see him around here, that's on the side of the road, my friend Alex. Yeah, he's right there. He was yelling, yeah, you know, you guys got some time to make up. I forget what his exact time was, but at one point, it became like, you know, over a minute. And on a 0.7 mile course, like I said, you know, you're out of sight, you're out of mind. So, you know, those guys that hit that initial break and that one guy that bridged up to him, you know, kudos for them. They did a really, really good job. So now we're sort of just, you know, trying to regroup, trying to get back into some kind of rhythm here. You know, trying to work, I would say, cohesively. Again, you know, I just, for whatever reason, I seem like I always was on the front and just stretching to the headwind. And I'm like, man, how did I get stuck here again? But hey, if it doesn't really knock you over, it makes you stronger, hopefully, right? But yeah, it's all part of racing. So it was a good workout. It was a good workout. And then again, you know, coming around the corner and like, you know, I'm ready. I'm done. So somebody else come through. And they'll be coming. Here they come. Yeah, so I think you just saw on the lap counter there's like 24 laps left to go, and it's around this point in time where so 2 things are going to happen. You're going to see all of us move over to the left. Because the pace car's coming through because we're about to get lapped. But this is sort of where it got interesting for me because I didn't really know what was going to happen. So you can see at this point, like I'm just moving back because I was tired of it. So here it comes. So I jumped ahead in the time a little bit, and you can see that guy moved to the left, I moved to the left, and you're going to see that the pace car comes through. So what happened is the 4 guys that were out in front basically came back to the group and were riding in the group. So, you know, there's the pace car. So they didn't actually keep going past us. They stayed within the group. And I guess at that point, you know, they're going to be guaranteed at least 1 through 4. But now, you know, they can work with teammates or, you know, sit in a draft of others, et cetera, et cetera. So now we're like one big group racing. And again, you know, it was a little bit confusing to me because I was expecting them to just come by, but they didn't. So you can see here, what do we got? We got 8 laps left. So, you know, we're going to race 8 laps of 0.7 miles. So we got about 5 miles left to race, a little bit more than 5. The whole race was 25. So I was just riding over the side. You could see I wasn't killing myself. I was just riding over to the side, waiting for people to come by. And then I'm still unsure. Like I want to get off the front, but nobody's coming to take the front. But at the same point in time, like, you know, I'm just cruising. I'm not pushing any power out. So now we're starting to get set up again. You know, Active Yards is always they have a great team. Rich, my apologies to you. I think I called you Jim at one point. I think that's Rich right there, number 211. You know, the Active Yards guys, they're always strong. They always work well together. Bigfoot guys, you know, Matt was there. I saw my buddy Joe. He wasn't racing this day. He had done a mountain bike race the day before, so he was a little tired from that. Terry was there. So, you know, Bigfoot had a good team. That's Matt right there coming through. But, you know, I, like, for those lap and a half there, I didn't really know what was going on. So I think at this point now, it's been it's been communicated that, hey, we're just racing, and those guys are in, the 4 leaders that were out front caught us. They're in the group, and now we're just racing, which is sort of interesting, right? Because I noticed from the other races there were very few people pulled during the day, again because it was such a short course. Now we're coming up to the start finish again. 7 laps to go. So yeah, you can see the temperature actually went down. Like, you can actually feel it. It got a little bit cooler because it started to get damp. Like I said, we never had rain in our race, but we did have like that misty air. But there weren't actual raindrops. So we lucked out. Later in the day, it actually did rain. So thankful for that. So let's get back to my bike again. So again, it's a Pinarello Dogma F. It's the same frame as a 2025 model year, except it has rim brakes, and they're not making a rim brake frame anymore. I have a Shimano Dura-Ace Di2 11 speed on it because I didn't want to get a new group set. I have 11 speed, and I have the Windspace Hyper Lunds deep dish or deep rims. I think the rear's 70 and the front might be 60. They're nice and deep, but you can feel it if there's any kind of crosswind. You definitely know it. But man, those things roll fast. When you get those things up to speed, they just roll. The only thing I'll say though is they are a harsh ride. I got 28 wide tires on it, and I had them a little bit less inflated for today's race, just thinking it might be wet out there, so I didn't want to make them too inflated. But yeah, they definitely roll good, but it's not the most comfortable ride, but it's a fast ride. The bike is really fast. It's really responsive. Yeah, I was really enjoying this race because, like I said, I had the bike for like a month, and there just wasn't an occasion to ride it because I didn't want to ride in the rain. I didn't want to ride in the wind, and plus the gearing on it is set up for more of a crit gearing. Like, I don't have a good climbing gear on it. I have a 5439 front rings and an 1125 cassette, so it's really set up for racing. I could put other wheels on it that have a different cassette, but I don't want to go through the hassle. So, but anyway, the bike itself, it's great. I'm going to do a video on the bike later in this season, probably within the next 2 weeks or so. But yeah, it was a fun day to try it out. It was a good day for it. So you might have seen just a little bit ago, one guy tried to take off from the group, didn't really get too far. We're all just sort of riding together. So I think at this point, the group was just riding for like the last couple laps until we got the bell lap. So in my head, I'm still like, I ended up talking to one of the Bigfoot guys, Justin, after his race, because he had a similar situation. They caught, he was in a break, and they caught their pack, and I was just asking about how it works, and Justin's response to me, well, I don't really know, because it didn't matter, because he and the first place guy, so Justin got second in his race. Justin, the first place guy, ended up sprinting out of the pack anyway to get first and second in their race. And a similar thing, I know the first and second place guys here were in the breakaway, so when we get to the finish, not to spoil things, but when we get to the finish, you'll see that the first and second place guys that come out of this pack were in the original breakaway. They were, the two main instigators in the breakaway, actually. So, I don't know, 5 laps left to go. I don't know, third and fourth had to have gone to the other two guys that are in the breakaway, but I don't know if they actually finished third and fourth out of this pack when we got down to the finish. I have to go back and try to figure it out, but that's for another day. So anyway, we've got about 5 laps left to go. So at this point, hey, I'm happy. I'm happy with my position. I'm happy where I'm riding. We're moving along. We're moving along pretty good. People are switching off. This is how I like to ride in these crits. People take a pull at the front, move off. the only hard part now is because if you drop off and you are going at speed, you got to find a spot to get back into the line. You don't necessarily want to drop all the way back to the back of the line. So this is where you look for coming out of a corner, being able to sprint to move up, or being able to move up in this straightaway on the back, or those kinds of things. But that is, to me, that's the real fun part about crit racing, is being able to figure out those moments where you can slip in or drop off. But yeah, this is where I was having a good time with this. So again, coming into the start-finish line, should have I think we have 4 laps left to go. I did want to try to trim a little bit out, because I did put a video of the full race up on my channel. The video of the full race doesn't have any commentary, no edits. It does have the power, but all you hear is the wind noise from the road. So this one at least you get to listen to me drone on about this, that, and anything else I feel like. So so now so that guy right there, the guy that had the whitish jersey, and the blue guy, they were part of the original break. So they have now moved back up to the front of this group. And I think I'm like 95% sure that the guy in blue was the one, this guy that's in front of me right now. I'm pretty sure he was the one that bridged up to the original break. The guy right in front of him was definitely in the original break. And then there's a guy in the green up front. He was in the original break. And I think this guy here, right in front of me right now, is in the original break as well. So I think that's the 4 guys in the original break. Not positive about this guy in the blue or the guy in the green, but the other 2 I definitely know were. So now we're getting close to the end of the race. Things are gonna pick up from here out. People again are looking to be properly positioned for the finish. I was really happy with my positioning. I thought I did a decent job of getting where I wanted to be, all except for that initial break. I had the plan in mind, but didn't have the position that I needed to have it. But that's okay. You learn, right? That's all part of it. At least I had the plan. I tried to execute it, and now I know, hey, I just got to pay more attention, ready to jump at a moment's notice. So I didn't see what the lap counter was. It's probably 3 laps left to go, I think. So we'll ride this lap, we'll ride the next lap, and then the bell lap. It's that's where the big power from the others come, not from me. One thing I've definitely realized, I had a really good winter training program, but I did realize that as I'm getting older, I never really had top end power. I was never a sprinter per se, but I definitely don't have top end power now. Especially at the end of a ride, I can put out a little bit, but I'm not crushing it by any extent. So again, going down the back stretch. The breeze actually picked up a little bit as the day went on. I think it was the race after ours, or 2 races after ours, I could really notice it, because I was walking around the course a little bit, just to get a feel for what the conditions were like, and it was definitely a stronger breeze than you thought. It doesn't look like anything right now, but it was definitely strong. So let's see. I think this will be 2 laps to go. Let's see if we can catch the lap counter here. Yep, 2 laps to go. So this lap, people are just sort of setting up where you want to be. I'm happy with where I am. I'm trying to find who I want to try to follow, and shout out to Matt here from Bigfoot. As I'm riding this, I'm looking at Matt, and Matt's looking really good. I'm like, hey, if I can get on Matt's wheel, that's going to be a big help. So I'm trying to figure out how do I maneuver. Matt's like 5 guys ahead of me, the orange jersey in front. So I'm trying to figure out how do I get to Matt's wheel, because Matt was riding strong. He looked good. I saw him a couple times, as he passed me, or we were cycling through the line. I'm like, yeah, that's going to be where I want to be. So I'm starting to move into Matt's wheel right here, and I'm like, okay, I want to stay locked on here. And again, this is another thing, like, where that's what I wanted to do. Can't say I actually did it, but it was my plan. And that's Joe that just was on the inside of me on the left. He's another good strong wheel to be behind. So you can see, like, Matt's ahead of Joe. I wanted to be on Matt's wheel, but I don't mind being on Joe's wheel either. So now we're coming down the back stretch. We'll come into the start finish for the final lap, and that's where all the fun happens, right? All right, so he just gave us the bell, and you can see, like, Matt's right on my left. That's where I want to be. I want to be with Matt. I think, like I said, Matt rode a strong ride, and I'm like, okay, if I can stay on Matt's wheel, that's good for coming around into the back and into the home stretch. So you see, like, I'm in the top 10 places here. Spoiler alert, I ended up finishing 9th, which I'm really happy with for the first race of the season. There weren't that many people in it, but these guys I race with all the time. You go to these Masters races and you see the core set of people are the same at most of the races. So you recognize faces, you recognize people. So, like, these are strong guys. Let me tell you, this is not an easy ride. So I'm where I want to be, and I'm watching, and I'm like, okay, let's get this going. And I got off Matt's wheel a little bit, but you can see Matt's starting to move up, Joe's starting to move up. Matt closed down that gap to his teammate, so I think I'm in good position. I don't know if you noticed, but there was a guy that shot out of this group, at the onset. But here comes the sprint to the finish. Like I said, I finished 9th. I'm happy with that. Hopefully you enjoyed watching the video. Fun race, great first race of the season. It was good to see everybody. And this is Chris from the Old Man Cycling Show saying, hope you enjoyed it. Give me a thumbs up, subscribe, and peace.